Hey everybody, and welcome to Mega Shift today. My name's Rob Kleiman, and I'm joined here today with Isaac Linson of Tapuya Brands, and we're really excited for a conversation about what he's been working on. We're classmates in the Columbia Technology Management Master's Program, and I really wanted to bring him on today to share a story. How are you doing today, Isaac?
Great, Rob. Thanks for having a conversation with me.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you based out of these days?
So based back in New York,
Yeah.
that's where all the action is in the summertime, hopefully.
Yeah, it's starting to get together. I actually went to a Mets game yesterday.
Yeah, great. How was that?
It was awesome. I mean, people have their mask on, a little bit of social distancing, and they check your vaccination card at the front gate. So it was kind of surreal, but a good time. And the Mets won, so that was great.
That's rare.
Yeah.
No, I think they're doing well.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about Tapuya Brands. This is a really interesting concept. In a nutshell, what is the mission of Tapuya Brands? And then we'll talk a little bit about the name.
Sure. Yeah. So what Tapuya Brands is doing is we are acquiring businesses that are sold in the Amazon marketplace. So we think of ourselves as a consumer products company that leverages financial models and acquisition strategies like a private equity company to go and find businesses that are solely selling in one channel and create omni-channel consumer valued brands wherever those consumers shop online and off.
Okay, cool. And so what would be an example of that? I know you maybe were telling me a little bit about where you started building some experience in this area. What's like an example?
Yeah, sure. So, one of the things that we're doing right now is we're buying businesses of a variety of different categories. And one of the examples of the business that we're buying is a business that, primarily sells just on Amazon, right? They do a few $1 million a year selling on Amazon, and we're acquiring them and giving them a little bit more love, structuring a brand around their product landscape, and then taking them to a broader market of those consumers, whether that's on digital or direct to consumer, whether that's in social commerce and in retail.
Okay, cool. And what's the inspiration for the name Tapuya?
Yeah, so Tapuya, the Tapuya people are indigenous people out of southern Colombia, northern Brazil. And when the conquistadors came over a long time ago from Spain and they got into the Amazon rainforest, the first people that they met were the Tapuya people. And they asked themselves where they were in. What is this beautiful jungle? And the Tapuya people told them that it's called the Amazon. So because we are using the Amazon marketplace as a acquisition channel for Tapuya Brands, we thought that would align ourselves quite nicely with that people.
Okay, awesome. And so I mean, Amazon, there's no secret that everybody's using Amazon. I think you shared a stat with me. It's like how much of the U.S. E-com is going through Amazon right now, roughly?
Yes. So right now, close to and increasingly more people are buying on Amazon. Close to about 50% of all things bought online are bought on Amazon. And of course, that stat is growing, and it is different per category, of course, but it is a huge amount of people, right? There's over 150 million Prime subscribers. And if you can imagine how many people have a Prime subscription, but then have families that buy with that Prime subscription, you can think that there's a tremendous amount of most Americans have some access to Prime on Amazon and are leveraging that as a main acquisition for any products that they want to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so there's this notion of an Amazon brand, right? So we're not talking about Amazon's house labels like, Rivet or, the things they're building internally, which in and of itself is an interesting conversation, how they're using sales data to create their own house labels in Amazon Basics. So when you say Amazon brand, could you unpack that a little bit in the context of Tapuya?
Sure. Yeah. Let me give you some backstory, Rob, of my history in the Amazon world and how that kind of relates to your direct question about what an Amazon business is. So the backstory is that I came into the Amazon space about 4 years ago, really as in the digital marketing sales realm for a large analytics company. And I feel very lucky to particularly be in this market where my consultant, the people who I was consulting for and helping understand how they build their business, was business owners, solopreneurs that sold on Amazon at least $2 million of their own products. So a private label business, which to your question is saying that somebody who thinks of that idea, right, which we've all thought about, right? That couch potato idea, that late night, man, I wish I had that back scratcher that did this, or, hey, I wish I had, that dog bowl that didn't slide when my dog went, some creative idea.
Right.
Somebody would go out and, there's a very select few people who go and they look at Alibaba, they go to China and they find that product. They create those amazing inventions, whether those are crazy new inventions or just semi-different to ones that are out there. And they go and put them on the Amazon platform. And those are what is quote an Amazon native business, which ultimately means somebody who uses and creates a product that solely sells in the Amazon marketplace. Like that's their core feature. And Amazon makes this really easy for people, right? They take care of the supply chain. They take care of the logistics of shipping. They take care of the storage. They take care of the returns, the customer service, and most importantly, they take care of the traffic. Right? Because as I said before, right, over 50% of all things bought online are bought on Amazon. So you don't have to be an engineer or designer, create your own website. You don't have to spend on ads in Google or Facebook or in other social platforms. You can just trust that if you have a good product and you can get your inventory into the warehouse that Amazon provides through their FBA program, that people are going to see it. And that if people really like it, it'll grow in reviews, it'll grow in sales, and you can then have a successful business.
That's awesome. And so, so you're saying these are products that have achieved a couple million in sales a year. Either in the sale of one particular product or, a product line. And so from there, what's the sort of value prop?
Yeah. So right now there are millions and millions of sellers, right? There was 300,000 new sellers that Amazon recorded last year. Now, most of those are not real sellers. It's a very low barrier to entry. When it comes to selling on Amazon, it's about $39 a year. So very, very low. But there's a small percentage of sellers that.
Sorry, yeah. And that's so that 39 is just like in fees to be a seller, the right to be a seller.
Yeah, just to be able to go and sell products on their platform, they have a $39 fee. So what happens is that, right, there's millions and millions of sellers who can sell on Amazon, pay that amount of money in a one-time fee, but there's only a much smaller section of those that sell, and there's even a much smaller section of those, roughly around 2%, that do over $1 million a year in sales, selling their own products on the Amazon marketplace around the world, not just in the States, but around the world. So these businesses that sell over $1 million on Amazon could sell more revenue, more products out, but a large amount of them just sell on the Amazon platform as these Amazon native businesses that we're speaking about. Mm-hmm. So really right now, there's a big movement that's been happening over the past few years, which is that these businesses, because they sell on one platform, because they don't have really diverse product differentiation, as well as because they are not understanding truly who their consumer is and have the data to back that up, because Amazon keeps that data, that you can buy these businesses for relatively cheap. And what does relatively cheap mean? It means that you can buy a business for, around the 2.5 to 4 times their EBITDA. And general EBITDAs on Amazon, general net profits, are around 25% on Amazon. So you could think that a business that sells $1 million in sales, you can just average out, does, $250,000 in net income, and you can buy that business for less than 1 year's revenue for most businesses that are out there. So that right there is a very great arbitrage model, where right now the industry has come into this idea where, hey, I can go and buy multiple businesses that you can call relatively cheap, that only operate on one channel, and go and create a portfolio of companies that, one, reduces the risk of one of them going down and my returns being less, but also increases my return. So now, instead of me owning one business that has $1 million in revenue, I can own 5 businesses with $5 million in revenue and $1 million or more in EBITDA. And I could do that largely through debt acquisitions, which makes it very, very valuable. So in my space in the past 3 years, there's been almost close to $5 billion raised, $5 billion with a B, in just a 2-year time to invest in businesses that primarily sell on the Amazon marketplace.
Got it. Well, that's really interesting. I mean, sounds like it's a fairly capital intensive undertaking. So I know that you are in the process right now of getting your term sheets and capitalizing this business. So what's that looking like? You had mentioned debt acquisition. How are you sort of thinking about the first? What are the first steps that Tapuya is going to be taking to grab some market share and get rolling?
Yeah. So we're taking a little bit of a different path in order to get our funding as well as build our business. So, I was telling you that one of the biggest things that is happening right now is that people are going to buy these Amazon businesses. And that's largely because, again, they just sell on one platform. And why that's really important is because, right, they don't understand who their consumers are. So what Tapuya brand is doing is we built a team of brand builders, creators, multi-channel operators who have managed over $1 billion on Amazon. And we have a large data science and engineering team that looks into the type of business that we believe can become a consumer brand. And there's a number of ways we can get into that and what that is. But ultimately, we're looking to acquire these businesses, leveraging debt. So to go into that, right, what we're doing is we've raised $8.5 million in debt, and for our first few businesses, as well as some equity to go and acquire multiple businesses that we believe we can transform into consumer brands.
Got it. So is there a particular sector you have your eye on? I mean, what to you defines a sexy consumer brand with growth potential that isn't saturated yet by some of the big dogs?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, it's a great question because there's a tremendous amount of categories. There's tremendous amount of businesses that you can go and acquire and brands that are in many spaces. So to get into a little bit more about how we look at businesses, we are really looking at the white spaces where consumer brands haven't met specific categories. So we are category agnostic, but with that said, we are looking at specific traits in certain categories, in certain markets, that we see the consumer is not being met with a brand that's targeting either a product type or a price point or a marketing pitch to that particular type of consumer. So we're open to different categories, but right now we're mainly focused on the home and kitchen space, pet space, garden space, outdoor utilities space, and sometimes the food space, depending on if it's a good market.
Nice. So what would you say is on the horizon in the next 3 months? I know that there's a lot of investor meeting, pitch decks, and hopefully some first acquisitions. So what's on the horizon?
Yeah, so right now is a super exciting time for us because over the past 5 months, we really started this this business at the beginning of this year. Over the past 5 months, we've been able to build a broad team of operators. We've been able to build our technology, our V2 technology already, in order to help us assess what businesses we would like to acquire, being very, very specific in the type of business and the model and the price point that we're looking for it in order to scale. We've built a large amount of partnerships around the world in order to go and scale this into different channels. And we've determined which are the 2 first acquisitions that we'd like to go and acquire, while we're raising the debt and equity to go and be able to acquire these, as well as some more. In the next 3 months, it's of course closing our acquisition financing, continuing to build the list of leads that we are looking to go and acquire. And broader in the industry, it's really just making sure that you can operate the business at the height of the market, which, in e-commerce is, everyone still is figuring out whether, spend is still going to elicit more sales in e-commerce. Does that vary by product? How does omni-channel marketing work, especially with things that are going on in the increased ad costs of Facebook? How does the geopolitical situation in China, and as we saw relatively recently with the canal, right? How that one blockage stops so many containers and the cost of those containers. So there's a lot that's going to be at play for all different types of businesses, but particularly in the e-commerce space. It's an exciting time. It's a new time. It's a growing time. And I think the way that Tapuya believes in our business model is that we're being just so specific and so strategic on the type of businesses that we're trying to acquire, that we're really taking into account tons of different factors, right? 300 or so different label factors that we assess before we make that acquisition. And I believe that with our strategy, we're going to be able to go and brace the next 5 years to come.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you for sharing a little bit about Tapuya Brands. So, I'll give you a second to think about it, but in a sentence or two, for anybody who's watching this space, what do you think is the catchphrase? What's the takeaway?
Yeah, so the takeaway is buy more online, but buy more on Amazon. That's what we want. But ultimately, right, if you're, I'd say, right, if you're interested in joining Tapuya Brands and like the mission of being able to go and create brands and grow brands, leveraging an acquisition strategy and a targeted focus using data, Tapuya Brands has many positions available in a variety of different places. So that's, what I would say.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today on Mega Shift, Isaac, and it's such a pleasure to have you. So from a technical perspective, I'm going to end the broadcast, and then we'll reconnect maybe on phone just to chat. But thanks to all of our viewers, and have a great day.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay. Thanks.